Okay, our Jets have cooled off now that June is here, and we've taken some time to relish in a lopsided Champions League final. What's up, everyone? It's Dave from A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar with Diego and Aaron live from our studio at Newburgh Brewing Company. We've got some time to check out the international game this week and also take a look at the transfer rumors, too. All right. What is up, Aaron? How we doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Mid-June is here. We're in the doldrums of off-season stuff. We got some international games. And although not right next to us, we do have him about 10 feet away. We have Diego here as well. What's going on, bud?
Everything good, my brother. Enjoying this little break and try to get some new content for the off-season.
Yeah, it's tough sledding. Obviously, we have, Gold Cup coming up. We have all the international, Nations League tournaments. We have all the summer tours going on, the Premier League Summer Series. We have all this stuff going on, but it doesn't kind of replace our normal format. So we're got to be a little creative here and get things going. So we've had now a full week to kind of think about it. Champions League final, PSG 5, Inter Milan 0. Aaron, what were your thoughts overall?
Ouch. That was not only tough for Milan, but that was tough for the fans to watch.
Yeah. I mean, again, as an AC Milan guy, I was happy with the PSG win. I was happy to see Luis Enrique, put a treble together for PSG. But from a neutral standpoint, it was nearly unwatchable after the first 20-25 minutes. So
good on PSG, first time winning it. So at least they walk away with it now.
I don't know what you guys are talking about over there. That shit was amazing.
Oh,
it was a show of true team soccer right there. That's what happens when you gather 11 men and have them go towards the same goal.
No, for sure. I mean, there is definitely something to be said for the departures of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi in the last couple of years, getting away from that kind of Galactico type squad, and bringing in a lot of youth, a lot of great players. Obviously, they had some big signings still. Kvicha came in. He actually scored in the 73rd minute, I believe, for the fourth goal for PSG. But, you have Doué, you have Barcola, you have, Donnarumma is still very young. Very good spine there that they have. With young, mostly French, mostly Parisian players. So,
and you figured that Milan was going to put up a fight because in the semifinal they hammered.
Yeah, I mean we knew they were capable of leaking goals. Obviously, they gave up 6 across both legs to Barcelona. But I would have thought Lautaro and some of these other guys would have put something together on the attacking side, and it was just not there at all.
Well, it was defense.
Yeah.
It was defense, but Saint-Germain defense is incredible. I mean, yes, they did put up 8 goals against Barcelona, but let's face it, we've talked about this. Barcelona is a dream team from 3 quarters up. That last line of defense, it definitely got some serious holes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
So that's kind of like what it is.
Still, to only get two shots on target.
Yeah.
In a Champions League final, you hope that your best players are playing their best when in need, and it just was not there at all for them. So again, congrats to PSG.
Yeah, and what do you think is going to happen in the future for them? Because, I mean, Inter is Inter. They're going to keep doing the same thing. How do we go forward with Paris?
I think Inter is going to slowly crumble here. They are a little bit of an aging squad. Inzaghi has officially left already. The manager, he's down in Saudi Arabia. I believe he went to, is it Al Hilal? I don't recall who. And then actually they just announced this morning that Christian Chivu, Romanian former Inter Milan player, has come in on a 2-year deal. But there's going to be a lot of upheaval, I think, with Inter. Whether it's player contracts, obviously a whole new coaching staff is coming in. And whereas in late April, early May, they were in line for a treble, they wound up winning nothing this year. So you know, as Aaron
I can
can
feel for
Aaron
them.
can attest to, it's
It hurts a little bit.
it's quite a kick in the stomach when you're that close to multiple trophies and you just come out empty-handed on all accounts. So
That is, no, true. That is a tough pill to swallow. But then again, like you said, congrats to PSG, first championship. Super valuable for them, and their future seems nothing but bright. To be honest with you.
all right, so our way too early predictions. What do we think for next year's Champions League then? Can PSG repeat?
I think Barcelona is going to have something to say about it. They're going to shore up those defensive problems, and next year, I mean, money's tight in Barcelona. They might get penalized because of expenditures and losing money and all this stuff, but I think they can do something. So that's my thing. I think Barcelona is going to give them a run for their money, and actually Madrid is going to be there. So I don't think they're going to repeat though. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, outside of Real Madrid doing it multiple times, it's next to impossible to repeat in this competition. You have such a logjam of matches between other competitions. You could argue that PSG has a good shot at doing it just with the seemingly ease that they have in Ligue 1 and with Coupe de France and all their tournaments. And as we're looking just off the cuff here, I am looking at the odds from betting standpoint to win next year's Champions League. And PSG, by most accounts, is going off second best at 7-1. It looks like Liverpool is in the lead here, followed by Madrid, Man City, Arsenal, Barcelona, Bayern, and Chelsea. So
was that a Newcastle peaking up?
That's
a stretch.
Yeah, it's
a bit of a stretch.
I agree. Atleti's down here. Napoli's down here. I think so many. And then there we go. Inter Milan going off at 22-1.
Please tell me that's not Tottenham.
Just in front of Tottenham. So, I don't see, Newcastle or Tottenham or Napoli. A lot of these squads that, Napoli did not play in Europe last year. Tottenham, played in a lower level, lower caliber tournament. You get a lot of these squads that just, they can't do it on all fronts. So
Tottenham's now no longer got a manager.
So speaking of which, I did just hear. I'm hoping it's fully truthful that Iraola has kind of rebuffed Tottenham's efforts to sign him as a manager, so he will be staying at Bournemouth. I'm reading that Thomas Frank is probably the front runner at this point from Brentford, which I honestly think his style probably fits Tottenham a little bit better than Iraola's would have anyway. And obviously, selfishly as Bournemouth fans here, we want to see Iraola
want to retain the same squad.
Things. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're going to be losing players left and right. Any
defender,
good? Right? Yep. Dean Howson is gone. Big rumors of Milos Kerkez going to Liverpool. There's potential rumors of Ilya Zabarny going abroad as well. But to be able to, obviously these players are all important guys, but players come and go, best of teams, worst of teams. If you can keep, the front office and the manager intact and keep that style moving forward, that would be the biggest coup, I think, for Bournemouth is to and any of these squads really to keep that direction going.
Yeah, 100%, especially because they're coming up. I mean, Bournemouth has doing nothing but climb on the positions year after year. So, if you discontinue that right now, we're never going to know if we can maybe stay on the top half of the league. We're not talking about next year they're going to go straight into European Cups, and compete for third or fourth, but go back to 9, maybe climb up to 8. That's an improvement, and that you only get that with the process staying intact.
Right. All right, so let's move on. We'll get away from the club game for a bit. We'll hop on over to UEFA Nations League. So this was honestly a pretty action-packed week. You had Portugal playing in a semi. You had the Spain-France semi. Spain-France was a 5-4,
incredible
5-4 final.
That thing
was
ridiculous.
Absolutely wild. I believe they were up 4-0 and 5-1 at one point. and France just kept coming back. They didn't have enough in the end. So a Portugal-Spain final, 2-2 after regulation. Portugal wins 5-3 in penalties. The game tying goal by the ageless wonder here, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, sir.
We like to give him a lot of shtick here, but he scored in the semi. He scored in the final. You could see the elation of what this meant to him. And again, say what you want about him, about whether it's his personality, which seems to be a little bit more manufactured is not the right word, but he's just very kind of buttoned up, and it just it's like he was built for the media.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It almost seems inhuman in that sense.
But at the end of the day, he is always a very good sportsman. His sportsmanship is incredible. I mean, I was watching the interview afterwards, after the finals, and he could have talked all kinds of trash because, people have been attacking him quite a bit. But he was nothing but a gentleman, man. He congratulated Spain, nothing but good things to say about Lamine, So, yes, stoic and all that, like Dave said, he's been a press guy through and through his entire career.
I mean, there was some times at United that he kind of got a little.
He was young.
Yeah. He was young. I'll give him that.
Listen, being 20-something and hot-headed.
Oh, even when he came back. Remember
The
clash with Ten Hag.
But nowadays, in his late age, he's becoming a much better guy.
You also got to ask what's left for him to win. So I think any big championship he takes, he's gonna enjoy it to the full.
Yeah, and to go along with that, not only is it the fact that he's already won everything there is to win, but I think when you have won so much, you realize that it's not a given. And now that he's kind of on we've been saying this for 5 years now, but on the twilight of his career, each one might be the last one. And it's the humanity
we'll reach the
of it.
hump when he gets to MLS.
Yes,
that'll be the last.
I don't think.
No, you know what? And that is the one thing he's never gonna be able to win. But we're not talking about that. He just.
Well, he doesn't have the team. He just announced that he was staying. I think.
I saw that earlier. I don't know if that is done deal, signed, sealed, delivered, but I did see that on multiple sources that he is.
So let's hope FIFA does right by him. All right.
Just first class tickets for the whole squad right into Club World Cup.
Yeah, let's go World Cup. They did it for Messi.
Ooh.
But no, it's all right though. He deserves that. Portugal, he's had chances, and like you said, with Portugal, he won everything that he can win with that team.
Do you think he's going to play in the World Cup next year?
I wish they can. I hope he does. He is in an extreme impressive athletic form. Like he keeps himself
even if he comes off the bench, you're still playing.
He deserves it, man. He deserves it.
30 to 20 minutes.
Listen,
the game that's.
I saw Roger Milla from Cameroon destroy the World Cup of 1994. I think it was 40 years old. So who cares, man? If you're old or not, you still got something to give, and he needs it.
That would be Cristiano's 6th World Cup. He's also
record. I think
he's scored in all 5 that he's appeared in. Yeah, I think he might be also. I don't think anyone else has ever played in 6. Let me see.
No, I think he's the record holder if he goes.
So here we go. Cristiano, where are we here? Oh, this is matches. So Messi's got the most matches. Let's see, tournaments. So nobody has played in more than 5. These are the guys that have, all these players have been in the squad for 5 World Cups. So from Mexico, you got Memo Ochoa, who only played in 3 of them. Gigi Buffon, who played in 4 of them. And then beyond that, you have Cristiano, you have Leo Messi, you have Rafa Marquez, Lothar Matthäus, Andres Guardado, and Antonio Carballal. So oddly enough, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those players are Mexican.
I have a feeling that Ochoa is going to come out of nowhere again.
Memo Ochoa.
Yeah. He never stops.
He never stops.
Is he still playing in Italy? I don't even know where he is anymore.
whatever he is,
He's
he's getting called for Mexico. No, well, the thing with
he's
Mexico,
playing in Portugal now.
oh, there you go. No, the thing with Mexico is, like you said, they keep their players. When they find that one guy who's, the standard, they will keep him until he cannot move anymore. They will force him into the national.
Yeah, playing with nuts and bolts.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think same thing I've been saying about Messi also with especially now that he's playing in the U.S. I think certainly Portugal and Argentina find a way to make them, the 25th, 26th. I don't know what their roster size is going to be for this bigger World Cup. But again, just as a locker room guy, just as that influence, I think it's well worth it to have them in the squad. And like you said, if you need someone for 25, 30 minutes in a situational, match,
he does.
Then, obviously we've seen it. He scored in the semi and the final in UEFA Nations League. He still has something he can contribute.
Listen, a set piece is still a set piece.
Yeah.
Like,
Amen
not
to that.
running for that.
Amen to that. And you know what? The thing is with him, he's not above coming out of the field. Yeah, back in the day, again, hot-headed Ronaldo, it was a different story. You're not taking me out. Nowadays, he is okay coming out, in the beginning of the second half and just playing one half, or coming out at the end of the match. Does he like it? No, but he deals with it. So
right.
That's the one thing he's got now that it will help Portugal. Like you said, they need a guy who can just score in 5 minutes. You put him in 5 minutes on a tight game, he'll take over. Maybe he can't give you any more than that, but that's enough. In a final, on a tie match, on the semis, you take anything you can get.
Agreed. All right. So on that note, let's take a quick break. We'll jump back in for 100 miles to home. We have some U.S. national team stuff to cover as well. All right. We'll see you soon. All right, welcome back to A Soccer Fan Walks Into a Bar. We have, Aaron right here next to me. We have Diego virtually also right next to us.
Splitting the field, ladies and gentlemen.
On a second camera, as we garner in the 21st century here of technology. And
yeah, we're experimenting a little bit.
Are.
Let us know if you like it.
That's one of the beauties of kind of having a little bit less to cover here in the summer period. We can have some fun with some new stuff, trial some stuff, and see what works, what doesn't. Introducing some new formats, some different types of content that we like to produce. So fans of the show, if you have something that you want to see more of, or differently, or less of, absolutely let us know.
Yep.
All right, so here we are, 100 miles to home. On Saturday, the U.S. hosted Turkey at I forgot the name of the stadium, Pratt and Whitney Rentschler Field.
I have no idea where they play.
Hartford, Connecticut. So we're playing in Connecticut.
In Hartford, yes.
I believe where UConn football plays. So very good start from the U.S. A first-minute goal from Jack McGlynn. And things, I hate to say fell off the rails, because they definitely had an absolute plan put together. And then just, a terrible mistake out of the back. And then right after that, a second goal. So 2 goals in 3 minutes from Turkey. One from, the Real Madrid wonder kid, Arda Güler. And Turkey comes out with a 2-1 victory. The press has not been kind to the U.S. national team, in the redux of that match. We've heard from several pundits and former U.S. national team players, about player selection, and I shouldn't say Pochettino's player selection, but players opting to make themselves unavailable for this window. It's I see both sides of it. I'm personally fine with Pulisic taking the time off. Obviously, as an AC Milan fan, I watch him a lot more than a lot of people do. I see the effort that he puts in on a daily basis, and just, he needs the rest. If we're all geared up for the World Cup next year, we need to, just like we talked about with Inter Milan, we want our best players playing their best games at the most important time. Gold Cup coming up, you want to win a tournament, but we got to think bigger picture here and put out a good showing at the World Cup next summer. So, I'm fine with it. I think a lot of it is just kind of hot take stuff for clicks and for press, which is fine. It's kind of the industry that we're all in a little bit now.
Yeah, sir.
So I get it. Aaron, what were your overall thoughts on all that?
My thing with the U.S. team is that they're all really good players. You can't really say much on it. The problem is just that over the years they've taken a lot of heart because most of the time in the U.S. soccer is not looked at as one of the top sports. So they kind of get a little bit more flack when in reality they shouldn't.
Yeah. At the same time, though, what do you think of, for me, it's as a fan and someone involved with the game, it's nice to see that, the U.S. is under scrutiny when they're not performing.
Yes.
It's obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you see both sides of it, all the time. But Odegaard, for instance,
yep.
He was one of their best players over the last 3 or 4 years. Had a bad, 3-month spell.
Yep.
And
a bad injury into a bad spell into coming back in the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. But they were on him. That the Arsenal fan base was after him. Absolutely. Diego, speaking to you, you have, but look at like Lucho, Luis Diaz toward the middle of this year. He
immediately crucified him.
And he wound up, I think, being the second leading scorer for Liverpool. And now they're shopping him around to other clubs.
I think the other issue though is that more often than not, when it comes to MLS soccer and the U.S. soccer, it gets more scrutiny because it's not seen in the same light as England or France.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Germany.
fair.
And we do play games with like South Americans, like Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, all of those. But the problem is that we don't get we do get scrutinized quite a bit, but we don't get the same, I guess, acknowledgement as like England. Because we don't get seen on those bigger stages.
And not for anything.
That is the thing.
Yeah, not for anything. I was at a U.S. game last summer against Colombia in D.C. 80%, I would say, Colombia fans. Did you see and hear the crowd in Connecticut? It was a very pro-Turkey crowd. Not to make an excuse for the squad, but that has got to be demoralizing.
100%.
That's a U.S. national.
That's what I wanted
player.
to say. It's just that's the thing. Like you guys say Colombia, you guys say USA, Turkey, everything. In our countries, that's life. Like that's the thing. We are quick to jump and criticize, but we are also quick to celebrate when the good results happen. That's one thing that doesn't really happen. But the scrutiny, I looked at it as also the fact that, people do care. People are starting to care. I mean, the few people that are soccer fans here are really, really, really deep soccer fans. It's not like in our countries that you are, you're a soccer fan because of birth, pretty much. It can become a birthright. Like, you are from our countries. You are bound to like soccer. You pick a team. You live with that team. That's just the way it is. In America, you have to choose the sport. That you really have to, because there is so many options, so many things that you distract you from that passion that you develop. So at least the people that complained, they're watching the games. You know what I mean? So that's a thing. And the other one was there is a lot of money being invested in U.S. soccer. You know what I mean? Like
you said it yourself, right? In other countries, it's life, right? There are some kids in other countries that are going to school, and the school is funded by soccer teams. And
100%.
They live and they breathe it. And in the U.S., it's the opposite, where the families are paying to go to the schools.
Good point. Yeah. I definitely like that.
Actually, was oddly enough at a birthday party, I think it was last weekend, and one of the guests was French, and we were talking about that exact dynamic where in the U.S. you need to have money to be able to play,
correct.
Whereas in England, in continental Europe, if your family has money, they try to steer you so far from the field.
Yes.
Get into, become an attorney, become a doctor, do this, get an engineering license, all this other stuff. It's a very interesting dynamic and difference in dynamics between the U.S. and really every other country in the world.
And then that's the thing is you see it like here again, soccer camps. The kid has to stick with them. They have to make sure they go to them. They have to keep up as the ages progress. In the schools that are based on soccer, you're there. That is your school. You're eating, living, sleeping, breathing soccer.
100%. And that is a very valid point. Maybe that's one of the things that will popularize soccer. If one day we wake up and we realize we got to reach out to people who can afford it. Try to establish some kind of thing.
I think we're getting there. I think, obviously this was, not part of our script today, but it's a topic that, I talk a lot about. I coached for about 20 years, every level from, the 6 and 7 year olds to the collegiate level. We are the first generation where most of us Americans grew up with the game.
Yeah. Right.
Previously it was, if you were from Colombia or Spanish or, Mexican expat or, from elsewhere in Europe or the world, those were the only families that were playing soccer. Now that it's become popular, we're all grown-ups with
those generations had kids.
Exactly.
Yes.
So part of that is just obviously the huge awareness of it. And now we're also, as a population, for the most part, realizing the money that's involved in it, and can we logistically make things work better for families that cannot afford it? Are there more avenues to be seen, whether it's the collegiate level, whether it's getting into a youth academy, whether it's playing ODP, whether it's just playing pickup and in the park.
Again, the biggest thing you see now is youth leagues, right? The smallest youth league being 5-6, they get the hand-eye coordination, and then once they hit that 7-8, that's when they get introduced to the other sports, and it's like that's where the cutoff is. You got to keep the kid going.
Yeah, exactly. Find a way to keep them interested instead of diverting them into basketball, baseball, football. It's just so many things. America, I mean, it's first world problems. As they say.
It's nice to have the sports, but you kind of want to see them all growing correctly.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're also, it's the only sport where there's really not that there's no cross training, but basketball, baseball, football, it's mostly hand-eye coordination type stuff. To get that foundational, foot skill in it, it's soccer or nothing. Maybe you could say futsal, futbolito,
but
that
they're
kind
the same
of stuff.
thing,
But
basically.
Here's the other thing too: is soccer is a global sport, right? USA is catching up to the global sport.
Yep.
Meanwhile, when it came to basketball, football, and baseball, the global catch-up was catching up to them. Yeah. And you're seeing that more with Eurobasket and all that stuff. They're being caught up pretty quickly. But that's the thing is the US can't seem to catch up to that global.
Yeah, I that's another thing that I think is changing a little bit. You have obviously, FIFA and now EAFC video games are certainly bringing a lot of people, into the game. You have all these, TikTok and influencers.
And I don't want to do a plug here, but one thing that is bringing the youth into soccer, the Kings League.
Yeah.
Internet, YouTubers league that is growing all over the world. In 2 years, became global.
Oh yeah.
They just held the finals for all the countries, all the continents, and all the leagues, and now they having their first World Cup. Basically,
I think Mexico has a league now similar as well, right? And then obviously. TST is going on right now down in North Carolina. The soccer tournament is a 7v7 tournament. This is the third year of that competition. AFC Bournemouth has a squad in there this year.
And it's funny, I think that's
women's division now.
That's the way to reach the American kids through that. I think that is going to be the turning point. That's going to be how it's going to become a mainstream event, because and give it to Piqué though. That was genius. It was a genius move. But making it an online event only, pretty much, there's no televised transmission or anything. That's what reaches the youth.
Sure. You also have a ton of wealthy Americans, whether they're business people or now professional athletes, getting involved in ownership. You have Tom Brady over with Birmingham, obviously. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney.
That group with Longoria and all of them.
And now with the Colombian team, like Equidad.
I think Michael B. Jordan's
a part owner along with Bill Foley at Bournemouth. You have JJ Watt at Burnley with the Dude Perfect guys. this is LeBron James, a part owner of Liverpool.
Yep.
Obviously, as an Arsenal guy, you have the Cronkies.
Yep.
And it's funny that you said LeBron James because the European players are the ones that are interesting these American players into investing. So like Aaron was saying, the European sports catching up to American sports are bringing that extra influence, not just in the sports side, but in the business side when it comes to opening to soccer though. And I think that's a beautiful idea though.
However, and I think I'll end my point of view on this is that when it comes to that, the problem also is that the America looks at it as a business standpoint. So the MLS on that point will not see two leagues.
Yeah,
which it needs a separation. You're getting so many teams. They want all the funding, they want the sponsorships, they want all that. And the problem is that the MLS is being looked at as a business.
Yeah, I think there might be some outside influences in the near future that change that. The USL is looking to go to a promotion relegation structure. I think even the biggest MLS fans or Don Garber himself, I think realizes that, all right, as we get to, maybe 40 teams, something's got to give. Whether it's just promotion relegation within MLS itself or something, I think the writing is on the wall. MLS, when they were founded, was not in a financial or popularity standpoint that they could do promotion relegation. That they had to contract multiple teams on multiple occasions. In the early days of the MLS. I mean, I remember watching Miami Fusion, who was only there for a couple of years, Tampa Bay Mutiny, who was only there for a few years, Chivas USA,
100%.
San Jose, the original San Jose Clash that went to become Houston Dynamo. So there was definitely been some lumps along the way. And while Don Garber tends to get mostly bad press as the commissioner of the MLS because of the lack of pro-rel and everything that goes along with it, he really ushered in the financial safety of the league and all these teams. I mean, you look at some of these English teams that have faced administration, including Bournemouth, Leeds United. Why can't there's I can't think of it now. There's a professional team in Italy that just filed for bankruptcy for $3 million.
AEK filed for bankruptcy.
There you go. Yeah,
2 leagues.
So. Mexico got rid of pro-rel and they have one ownership group that owns, I think, 3 or 4 teams. So, and you have Pachuca Group. We were talking about it all summer long with Club World Cup. So, I think in the long run, we will see to some extent a little bit of mobility between divisions. I don't know if it's a traditional pro-rel. I don't know if it's, I kind of like the way Germany does it when obviously the top 2 in the Zwei Bundesliga automatically go up. The bottom 2 from Bundesliga go down, and then third place plays 16th place in a playoff to see who moves on.
That's interesting, yeah.
And 1, it's a game that probably will bring in a lot of money, and 2, you're probably for the most part protecting that MLS or that top division team a little bit better than just traditional relegation. If you're in a one-off playoff against a second division team, more often than not, as bad as you are in the first division, you're probably still going to come out on top in that match. So
true. But at that point, it's just the money and the situation. These American teams are so much more expensive and harder to maintain if you get relegated.
Look at what's going on with Galaxy right now.
Exactly, because of the structural situations.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why they can't figure out the parachute payments. Like they do for England. Again, all this stuff is well above our pay grade, but if we were soccer kings for a day, I think we could get it figured out.
Yes, sir. All right, my guys, I actually left the chat. I don't know if you noticed, but
we did.
My phone died, so this little experiment has come to an end. Let us know if you like it. All right,
we still have the audio. That's
there.
Good.
You go.
All right, so let's jump over. We're actually just about done anyway. Although fitting time for you to leave the chat or the video because we wanted to talk about the matches this week and tomorrow's a big one.
You don't need to see me to rant.
Argentina hosting Colombia.
Dude, I don't even know what the hell to say about this because I have no faith. I'm not gonna lie. I am sorry. I am Colombian. Still love my country, my team, and everything. But right now they are baffling me in the sense of that this is exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's just what Colombia does every damn qualifiers.
I will say this. So as it stands right now, Colombia sit in 6th place after 15 matches played on 21 points. They play 18 total, right?
Yep,
Three
yep,
matches left.
They got 3 matches.
Between 2nd place and 7th place, there's only a 6-point gap.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And between Ecuador and so you have Ecuador in 2nd on 24, Paraguay also in 3rd also on 24, Brazil 22, Uruguay 21, and Colombia 21. So while 6th place sounds pretty damning,
There's only 3 points between.
it's a one match swing.
Yes, but that is the thing. It's not like it is here in Central America or maybe Europe with the groups. You know what I mean? You win your group, you go in. In Colombia, you have 10 teams, and it's always like that. It's always between 6 and 7 points between, 3rd and 8th, because Brazil and Argentina usually, and look at what's happening right now, Brazil and Argentina usually run away with the first 2 spots.
Right.
But now you got Ecuador as a second.
Yeah. Where did this Ecuador squad come from?
Dude,
this is incredible.
This is a thing again, and this is a pattern that Ecuador has been doing lately. They held water. They hold water the first half of the qualifiers. And then in the last 10 matches, they just go on a rant. The last couple of times they weren't able to make it through because Brazil was playing really good, because Uruguay was still dominating. Argentina is being dominated for the past few, qualifiers. But because of all these reasons, it wasn't as noticeable as it is now. Now with Ecuador in a place that they have no business being, from, what I always say, it's harder for Colombia because now Colombia doesn't close well. Yep. They dominate the first 10, 11 matches, and then they fall down a precipice in the closing parts. And that's how we missed a bunch of cups. In Ecuador, it's just benefiting that. The results have been playing around for them, and they get that tie or they get that victory when Colombia loses, Paraguay loses, Brazil ties, and they get a 2-1 or a 1-0 victory, and that's why they flip-flop. It's always 3-4 points. So if you gain 3 points and everybody else above you loses, you jump back and forth. So it's very chaotic. But the thing is, Colombia hasn't taken advantage of those opportunities. Every time the results play around them, they lose. They lost to Bolivia. They lost to Ecuador. They tied Peru. Like, these are games that have to be won. So they're giving away territory. And like you said, what is happening with Ecuador is benefiting from every single one of those things. 1 point here, 2-3 points there. Ecuador has got good results. But I think in the last 5 matches, they got 2 victories and 3 ties or something like that.
They're sitting on 6 draws total.
But they keep coming up. Just adding up points is what matters in CONMEBOL. If you do that, you are bound to make it in. That's what Colombia is not doing. That's why Ecuador is second. Brazil lost total identity. I told you, man. Brazil.
It's one match under Carlos.
No, that's what's going to happen. Dude, did you see the news that he thought that the stadium in Ecuador had the wrong banner because he thought it was Barcelona, like the actual Spain Barcelona?
I did not see that.
The story goes, he goes to Ecuador, they're training, and he talks to one of his assistants, I think it was, and he was like, "Hey guys, why are all these colors here? This is the wrong colors. What's going on?" And his assistant was like, "Well, sir, no, the colors are right. There is a Barcelona thing, and it's in Ecuador as well. So we are in their stadium,
Barcelona SC, right?
Barcelona SC." And that's what was he noticed. He thought it was like a Barcelona annex or something, but once he saw the SC, he was like, "But the letters are wrong," and that's when they had to explain to him. So that, in a nutshell, is gonna be Ancelotti's experience in CONMEBOL.
There you go.
He has no idea where he is. He had no business being there. I'm sorry I'm hating, but I will continue hating though.
Speaking of no business being there, what do we think Colombia's chances are tomorrow? Now, granted, Argentina with 3 matches left is up by 10 points. So they have
Oh
clinched.
no, they're done.
They have clinched not just qualifying. They've clinched the top qualifying spot in CONMEBOL.
They're gonna give Colombia a chance. Right now, I know the directives are talking amongst themselves and be like, "Hey, man,
in
hook
Buenos
me up,
Aires?
please." It is in Buenos Aires, but there is the pride.
Yeah.
Argentina will never forget the 5-0 that Colombia put on there. Because of that, they're just not gonna go mess around and give the game away because there is history there. So I really, really, really hope we come up with a tie. That is my best, my summary of my thoughts right now. I don't think they can do it.
Well, a top, well, even really, I hate to say it, with a loss, they still control their destiny for the next window where they have 2 matches. So they're 3 points ahead of Venezuela right now, but they are 6 better on goal differential. Colombia is +4, Venezuela -2. So even if Colombia lose and Venezuela win, they'll be level on points, but most likely a better goal differential than Venezuela. So
absolutely, absolutely. But that's the thing. I'm hoping for a tie because that's what Colombia needs right now.
Yeah.
They just need to keep adding points little by little. It'll be okay, but they just got to add points. 3 losses and 2 ties is ridiculous.
It's time to turn it around.
Exactly.
That being said, they also, so 7th place is the Intercontinental Playoff. 8th place right now is on 14 points, Bolivia. So
no.
They are 7 points ahead of Bolivia with 3 to play.
No, yeah. I mean, I personally have the fear that they're going to end up in the playoff.
Yeah.
That is the scary part. It's not that they're not going to make it to the World Cup. They are. Bolivia and Chile and what was the other one?
Peru. Chile's in last on 10.
Bolivia, Chile,
Peru,
and Peru.
11, Bolivia 14.
They're not getting out of there. They're not making it through. It's just the way it is. So it is just, do we have enough to fall into the playoff and beat whoever team we're going to face? Because
Bolivia hosts Chile next.
Yeah.
And obviously we all know what it's like, in terms of Bolivia with their home versus away.
But they're close in a way, I think. The last match of Bolivia is away. And that is safe to say will be a loss. So they
6
don't.
points out though.
Huh?
Aren't Bolivia 6 points out?
They are, but there is 3 matches. So
6, yeah.
They gotta win all 3, and Colombia has to lose 2.
Help. Yeah, for sure.
Or whoever loses, they gotta lose 2
Correct.
matches, which is hard. And then Bolivia gets the one with Chile because I'm pretty sure they are. But La Paz is La Paz. There is no going around it. They win pretty much always out there. But the last match is just. It's just not feasible. They're not getting through. They should have gotten another result somewhere. I can't remember. One of those matches was winnable and they lost it.
Yeah.
That was what got him out. So we're safe. The depressing part is that we're not closing strong and we're going to have to scrape by, try to get through the playoffs. And if we get through the playoffs, what is that going to do for the team itself when it comes to their mentality?
Yeah. All very good points. All right, let's take things back. Also, tomorrow night, I guess, for those that are listening live or when it's uploaded immediately, USA Switzerland. So the U.S. on the heels of that Turkey loss, it's the first time since 2015 that the U.S. has lost 3 matches in a row. They will try to make things right against Switzerland. Where do we think that one stands?
I think a 1-1 draw.
Okay. I honestly, I'm looking at, some of this squad that Switzerland has put together. I think that would be a beneficial result. It'll be good to start building momentum again as we have, the Gold Cup coming this summer. So and lastly, kind of a what's on tap also and one for the road. The Club World Cup will kick off on Saturday. I believe it's Al Ali against Inter Miami in the opener Saturday night, and then all the rest of the fixtures Sunday, Monday. Ticket sales have not been doing well. I'm reading reports that they've slashed prices down to like 16% of what the opener was for watching Messi and Miami. I'm going to wait and see for the local games, see maybe last minute tickets and pick something up, but.
Yeah, it's rough because the Club World Cup is you would like to see it succeed, but every time it goes off,
I think it's hitting, and I think it's hitting everyone that this literally is nothing more than a money grab.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the players don't want to be there. You know, they just finished a very, very difficult schedule, and here we are with 5 or 6 more games.
It's got a spring training feel to it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So we'll see. I mean, you know, if I'm around, I'll almost definitely be watching the matches. I will, you know, if a ticket becomes available, you know, at a normal price, I will probably, you know, make my way down to the stadiums for it. But it certainly is not, you know, the be all end all in my soccer life. So, all right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for helping us out with, you know, checking out the new technology we have going on. Thank you, Diego, for popping in on a second camera. Thank you, Aaron, once again. Thank you guys all in the audience. So throw us a like and a follow on Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky, Discord. Our Discord is growing nicely. We're getting some more fans on there. What else? Instagram. I don't think I mentioned Instagram. Make sure you share the podcast, and we'll see you upstairs next week for some games, or right here back on the show.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.